And those that I don't know, I hope we'll become friends very soon. So today we are reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto, is this Canto 10? 10 chapter 8, verses 11 and 12. I wrote down Canto 1, but I know it's Canto 10. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiraye Ashtatraye Sakhatreshu Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. Okay, so Srimad Bhagavatam, we'll start with, this is chapter 8, Canto 10, text 11 and 12. 11 has no purport, so we'll just read the translation and then move on to 12. And I'll just read the Sanskrit. Shri Shuka Uvacha Evam Saprartito Vipra Svachi Krishitam Evatat Chakarana Makaram Budoraha Sibhalayo. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Sukadev Goswami continued, having thus been especially requested by Narada Maharaj to do that which he already desired to do, Garga Muni performed the name-giving ceremony for Krishna and Balaram in a solitary place. And then text 12. Sri Garga Uvacha Ayam Hirohini Putro Ramayam Suhrido Gunai Akhyashyate Ramaiti Baladikyad Balam Vidu Yadunama Pritag Bhavat Sankarshanam Shantyapi. Translation. Gargamuni said, "This child, the son of Rohini, will give all happiness to his relatives and friends by his transcendental qualities. Therefore, he will be known as Rama. And because he will manifest extraordinary bodily strength, he will also be known as Bala. Moreover, because he unites two families, Vasudeva's family and the family of Nanda Maharaj, he will be known as Sankarsana." Purport. Baladev was actually the son of Devaki, but he was transferred from Devaki's womb to that of Rohini. This fact was not disclosed. According to a statement in the Harivamsa, Patriyuvacha Tato Rama Sarvam Stan Avikastitan Yadevish Api Sarveshu Bhavanto Mama Palava. Gargamuni did disclose to Nanda Maharaj that Balaram would be known as Sankarsana because of uniting two families, the Yadu Vamsa and the Vamsa of Nanda Maharaj, one of which was known as Kshatriya and the other as Vaishya. Both families had the same original forefather, the only difference being that Nanda Maharaj was born of a Vaishya wife, whereas Vasudeva was born of a Kshatriya wife. Later, Nanda Maharaj married a Vaishya wife and Vasudeva married a Kshatriya wife. So although the families of Nanda Maharaj and Vasudeva both came from the same father, they were divided as Kshatriya and Vaishya. Now Baladev united them, and therefore he was known as Sankarsana. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimata Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Charine Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paschati Adesha Tarine. Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhuvya Yogacha Patitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hey, so our good fortune, we're here together in each other's association, and in the association of the Srimad Bhagavatam, who is none other than Krishna himself. So it's a good day to be Krishna conscious, and it's a good day to be with the devotees. Okay, so this verse, there's two verses here. Let's just explore what's being said here. So Balaram, we are about a week from Balaram's appearance day. So this is a perfect time to start meditating on this most auspicious personality, our dear friend. So Balaram's the seventh son of Devaki, but he was born of Rohini. And as I was reading this, I was just thinking of the drama that is involved here in this Lila, and how we have such a propensity for all of these exciting and dramatic things. Of course, when it's attached to Krishna, and this is Krishna Lila, it is the highest, because the pastimes of Krishna are no different than Krishna. And so this is a perfect way to engage our propensity for stories, for hearing of things that have happened in another time. And it's full of excitement, it's full of drama. Balaram being conceived in one womb and being born in another, and how he got there, and it's all very exciting. It's all very magical, like Krishna magic. So Krishna comes as Balaram comes as Krishna's older brother, and it's described here that his name, he's also given the name Sankarshana. So San means together, like Sankirtan, and Karshana is related to the word Krishna. And so Krishna, the all-attractive, Karshana, in that sense, also means to bring together. So attraction, like attraction, Krishna is all attractive, and then traction, bringing, holding in. So he's bringing these two families together. But also Sankarshana is an expansion of Balaram, who holds the universes together. So he has this quality of holding together. He's a Lila avatar. And so he came to assist his brother in this Lila, but he's no different than him. So Sachinanda Maharaj explains that Balaram, he came first because he was making way for Krishna. He was preparing the ground for Krishna to come. And if we know about the paraphernalia of Balaram, one of them is his plow. And so a plow, the purpose of the plow is to prepare the soil for planting. So while it's cracking at the hard crust of the earth, it's bringing up new soil, and it's also at the same time ripping away the weeds. And the purpose of that is so that we can plant and then have fertile soil that the seeds go into. And so Sachinanda Maharaj was explaining this, that he's preparing the ground for Krishna to come, the ground in our hearts. And so when we allow Balaram, we associate with him, he has this quality. And so it helps us cultivate our bhakti, because our bhakti, the bhakti lata bij, is the seed, bija, of bhakti, of the devotional creeper, the bhakti lata. And I just thought that's such a powerful imagery of what he's here to help us do. He also, because his quality is that of strength. And we know that this is one of Krishna's many infinite qualities or opulences. He removes the obstacles to our bhakti. And so by digging up this fresh planting ground, he helps us facilitate our bhakti. And when we facilitate, when we have things that facilitate and encourage our bhakti, then the difficulties get displaced. And so on a practical level, when we have things that we'd like to say, for example, there's a bad habit, or not bad habit, but just an unhelpful habit, the way to counteract that is to just increase the amount of good habits and therefore displace the unwanted things. So it's a matter of displacement. And so what are the qualities of our dear friend Balaram? Well, one is that he's none different than Krishna. And it's explained in many places in the Chaitanya Charitamrita in detail about the different expansions. Also, the second chapter of the first canto talks about the different expansions of Krishna. And it's very extensive, very extensive. My experience is that even when I've studied it with charts and writing things down and little trees, it's still, they are infinite. Krishna's expansions are infinite. And so we get just a little tiny percentage of what those things are. And so, but it's described how they are non-different. And then the Srimad Bhagavatam, also in the 10th canto, but a little later on, it says that it's understood from all Vaishnava literature that Sri Rama, Balaram, here accompanying Lord Krishna, and when they took birth together, is none different from him, being his plenary expansion. The Lord is one, yet he expands himself, and thus Lord Balaram is in no way compromising the principle of monotheism. So it just means that they're the same person, that they're different personalities, same person, same and different. And this is the great mystery that is Krishna. And then in the CC, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Balaram being Vishnu Tattva, it's the same category of beingness as Krishna, is non-different than Krishna himself. Shri Balaram and Krishna have different bodily colors, but otherwise Shri Balaram is equal to Krishna in all respects. There are innumerable incarnations of Krishna, and thus there's no possibility of counting them. We can simply indicate them by giving the example of the moon and the branches of a tree. They're just infinite. They keep going. And these are just the incarnations that we know about, that we see here. And there are other universes with more incarnations and their own writings about them and their own telling. So somewhere in another place, there are other devotees that are sitting around talking about the glories of Krishna. And so they just continue. So this is the quality, that he's the same with Krishna. And so when we associate with Lord Balaram, we associate with Lord Krishna. And it's more support, more personalities, more just another person to assist us, who is our well-wisher. And he's so merciful. I know that in just this unconditional love, for example, when we read the Mahabharata, he happens to be Duryodhana's guru, his teacher for fighting with the mace, because that is another of his paraphernalia, is the mace, and he's expert in his fighting. And so he's very fond of Duryodhana, even though we know that Duryodhana doesn't always act in a way that endears him to us. But Balaram, that's his friend, and you can see that. And so that just it just speaks of his mercy and his unconditional love. He didn't judge, he didn't reject him, he didn't say, well, you're doing all these awful things. He was his teacher, and he saw him as a student, and he treated him as such and as a friend, and gave him all his knowledge. So what is another quality of Lord Balaram? So we have that he's the same as Krishna, and he's also, even though he came as Krishna's older brother, he came in the mood of service. He came as a servant of Lord Krishna. And this is evident. So Lord Balaram also has many incarnations where he comes, wherever Krishna goes, Balaram goes, in the mood of a servant. And so he came as Lakshman, who was serving Lord Rama, Lord Nityananda, who serves Lord Chaitanya, Nantashesha, who literally supports Vishnu, the universes. So his mood is not just of service, it's of blissful, loving service. And this mood of service is present in all of the rasas, but this particular mood that he has, he is the original, it's described in Shastra that he's the original servitor. And so this is also a quality that he can help us with. If he's removing the obstacles to our bhakti, and our bhakti is devotional service, then he's giving us bhakti. He's taking away anything that gets in the way of us remembering that our main mood is to be the servant of the servant of the servant. And Krishna sees the devotees as more important than himself, as greater than himself. And so the devotee, the servant, is the most, what's the word? Important. Exalted. Yes, thank you.
Dearest.
Dearest. Yes, we can all think of the words of what the devotees are. And so if the devotees are more important to Krishna than himself, or he finds them even grander, then they are so for us. So I will argue that the devotees are more important to me than Krishna, because without them, I don't have Krishna. And I have, you know, he's busy, he's doing so many other things. Would he even notice that I'm here needing him? He's got other things going on. He's out sporting. And who am I? But the mercy of the devotees, that they've taken me in, that they've given me their association. So the mood of the servant is the most joyous. And Srila Prabhupada says that if one does not have the mentality of servitorship, then we can't understand devotional service to the Supreme. So this is first, the mood of being a servant of the servant of the servant. This is our greatest joy. And so how do we cultivate that when we're living in a world that says it's all about me? How is this serving me? How are you serving me? How is this other thing serving me? What is it doing for me? What is the benefit for me? How do I gain in this? How do I protect myself? It's all about me, me, me. And to think contrary can sometimes be a little disorienting, because it's not what everyone else is thinking. Sure, in this association, this is why we come to Bhagavatam class every day, because here is the association. And so to associate means to open our hearts and to imbibe the qualities of. And so when we associate with the devotees, we open our hearts and imbibe the qualities of. Similar with Lord Balaram, when we associate with him, we open our hearts and let him come and plow our hearts so that we can have fertile soil for the seed of devotional service. And so what does it mean to actually live this? Because learning implies or doesn't imply, it includes assimilation. And so to really learn something, to really realize it, means that there's a change in behavior. And what does that mean for me in my life? How do I take shelter? How do I live that relationship? If I have a friend, if I have a really close friend, and there's a lot of my close friends here because I'm just so fortunate. I don't know how it happened. But if I'm struggling and I'm having a really hard day, week, month, year, or just things going on, but I don't reach out to that friend, then they can't help me. And so this is the opportunity that association gives us to reach out for help, to phone a friend. And we have Lord Balaram. And so, sure, we have the devotees, we have Krishna, we have different aspects of Krishna that are very dear to us. We may have our own Ishta avatar, so to speak. But here's another opportunity. Here's another friend that we can connect with. It's Lord Balaram. So I'm just bringing light to Lord Balaram. Let's start meditating. Let's start hearing about him, talking about him, asking questions, speaking of his glories, and really trying to connect with him, because he's there for us. So this mood of being a servant, perhaps we can connect with him through that mood of being a servant, and he can teach us how to do that, because he is the ultimate servant. And so in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, I think this is Adi Lila, someone correct me if this is wrong, chapter 6. So there are 2 verses that speak about this. The source of the sentiment of servitude is indeed Lord Balaram. The plenary expansions who follow him are all influenced by that ecstasy, the ecstasy of the sentiment of servitude. And then Lord Sankarsana, which is what the name that was given to him, who is one of his incarnations, always considers him a devotee. And there's a like I said, the expansions and incarnations, all of these things can be very intricate, but there's another place, it may even be that same chapter, was talking about Advaita Charya. And there's also some relation there in expansion and incarnation. I don't quite remember it. But Advaita, it's described how Advaita Charya is just in ecstasy, and he's just like, he's got his arms up and he's just running around saying, I'm the servant of Lord Chaitanya, I'm the servant of Lord Chaitanya. And I just picture it. And he's just, the way the verse is described is just him repeating this over and over. I'm the servant of Lord Chaitanya. And so that's the mood. That's the mood. And we've experienced it. We've had glimpses of it. Some of us are more in that than others, but some of us just sometimes get a glimpse of just the nourishment that comes from really doing something out of service, out of love, that this is not for me. This is because I want to, I need to, and it's an expression of my affection, my appreciation, my gratitude, my love. And there's so much reciprocity with that. It almost doesn't seem fair. How is it that I can do and give and love, and it feels like I'm getting more? Krishna's math is transcendental. It makes no material sense. It doesn't add up. It just doesn't. It's so much more. So to associate means to open our hearts and allow it to change us. And so we can ask ourselves, where am I in this? Where do I take shelter? And then remembering the next time that some fear comes up or some difficulty, just reach out to Lord Balaram and say, and these are the words of realized people. When I speak to senior devotees, when I hear from people who are speaking, who are realized in this, it's so simple. We just go to him and say, this is what I think Sachinandan Maharaj was also saying, just go and say, my dear Lord Balaram, I'm having this, and he said, perceived difficulty. I'm having this perceived difficulty. Whatever we're perceiving as a difficulty, just bring it to him. My dear sir, I'm having this trouble. Please do something about it. Please help me. Taking shelter. So Krishna considers the devotees higher than himself. Who said? Someone said exalted. It may have been Adipurusha, exalted. And so that means something. When we see that that's Krishna's position to the devotees, that can also be our position to the devotees. They're all higher than myself, and they are all worthy of my respect and my honor and my service, being the servant of 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 the servant. And so, okay, so we'll end on this, that this idea of Sankarsana, bringing things together. Krishna consciousness is the ultimate unifying thing because it brings us together in Krishna consciousness. It reminds us of who we are, who Krishna is, who all the other living entities are, and where we are, what we're doing. And so to really understand the reality of who we are and who Krishna is, there's no need for separation. There's no need for discord. There's no need for racism and sexism and speciesism. It's the ultimate unifying principle. And it's Krishna. And so when I was thinking this, when I was reading on these things and just thinking about this quality of bringing things together and the unifying principle, it seems, this is a theory, an opinion, but it's the medicine for Kali Yuga, because Kali Yuga is separation, discord, fighting, wars. And Krishna is the medicine for that. And Krishna consciousness in these reminders of our true nature of being servants of who we really are. And so in this sense, we can just add a little bit of Krishna consciousness every day, here and there. Imagine all of us just going out into our own little lives and just adding giving a little bit of medicine to what is a really difficult, like Prabhupada said, this is no place for a gentleman. This is no place for a lady. But it's okay for the devotees when we have each other and when we have personalities like Lord Balaram, who, if we think about it, when we need strength, and these are times when we need strength. Well, I need strength on a daily basis. Things are difficult all over. Even when they're good, there's so much difficulty. It's the quality of this world. And so Krishna, Lord Balaram, the quality of strength, they are the reservoir of that in infinite capacity. He's never going to say, I'm sorry, I run out of strength for you. And I'm sorry, all these other devotees asked first. So, sorry, limited supply. It's not like that. We are so rich and abundant in Krishna's mercy, in Krishna's love, in the help that he gives us to bring us to the knowledge that we need. He is the source of all of that knowledge, and I give the knowledge by which to come to me. He will give us that. So those are some thoughts on this verse. Any comments, ideas, additions? Thank you very much, dear devotees. It's my honor to be here with you, my pleasure.
And fantastic class, perfect, complete, wonderful. We pray that Krishna will bless you to preach all day long continually and fill your life with this quality of offering people the truth and encouragement, inspiration. Really good job.
Oh, Hari Purusha.
Job. Wonderful point. We can only reflect. Vaisheshekar Prabhu, when he gives class, he says, okay, any reflections? In other words, not exactly, you can ask a question if you want to, but he likes people to, what did you hear? That stuck with you, that you want to bring home with you, So the idea that Lord Balaram is showing us by his example how to be a servant of Krishna. And you mentioned a blissful servant, that we can be not just satisfied, but overjoyed to have some service, to be able to have some way to reciprocate with Krishna's love by offering something. Yeah, that's such a good point, that he's giving us by his example, how devotional service is not just natural and desirable, but wonderful and satisfying and blissful. Yeah.
Thank you, Adi Purusha.
Wait a minute.
Jai.
Another Bihari has a question or comment.
Nanda Bihari.
Lila, Devi, beautiful class. Thank you. Here's my question. Sometimes we're doing our service and then we may feel that nobody's really noticing it. Devotees aren't noticing how much service I'm doing. But is Krishna aware of our service when it seems as though devotees aren't? And is he, yeah, that's my question. Is Krishna aware of our service? Is that the right mood to expect validation and recognition of our service? Or it's all bogus?
Well, Krishna is definitely aware of everything. And he knows the intention of our hearts. Yeah, he knows the true intention of our hearts. If we're doing something out of, for recognition or this or that, or really doing it out of true, and as a true offering. But I think there's two things to that. One, it's not a matter of it's the right mood or the wrong mood to need or want recognition. In one way or another, it's a natural human need that we have. I have the need to be recognized. I have the need to be seen. I have the need to be validated. When that is purified, and I have to be honest with myself. Yeah, I actually need to be, I need to have credit for this. We may or may not get it, but that's first, being honest. I really need this and I'm not getting it and it's really upsetting me. And so then there's communication, because, sure, service is one way that we may want to be seen, but what about our friends, our family, our partners? What if we need validation and need to be seen and need acknowledgement? We should be able to communicate that in an honest way. And then people don't know what we need if we don't tell them. That's the first thing. But when it gets purified, it's a different quality. Then I want to be seen by Krishna. Then I want to be seen by the deities. I want to go to the Bhakti Center and be seen by Radhamani Gaur Chandra. Interestingly, one time this is a great story about Vasudev. I was doing service for a big festival, and I was downstairs the whole time, and then the curtains closed early, and I see Vasudev, and I said, Vasudev, and I come so intense. I said, Vasudev, the curtains closed and I couldn't see the deities, and why they closed early. And I was just very excited and very intense, and he's just very calm and just smiled, and he said, one should be in the mood of wanting to be seen by the deities, not so much wanting to see.
Yeah.
And he just said it so lovingly, but he was like for real with it. And I just, in that moment, I was like, oh, okay. Similarly, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur would go to the deities and he would take off his glasses, and they would ask him, like, why are you taking your glasses off? You can't see. And he said, this is not about me seeing them. It's about them seeing me. It's about I'm presenting myself. So it's real that we need validation. It's a human thing. We should not think that there's something wrong with me because I need to be appreciated. Every loving relationship has appreciation and seeing of each other. But when it gets purified, it's not so ego-based. It changes. The quality of it changes. So I think it's both, Prabhu.
Thank you, Lila. Okay, Rich has a question. Let's go, Rich. And Bhima and Andrea. Oh, wow. Rich, you go first.
Hi, I put my question in the chat. I don't know if you would just like to read it
Let's see.
aloud, or if you'd rather that I would.
I can read it. Yes, no problem.
Thank you.
My obeisances to the group. Please pardon my inexperience at the subtle art of glorifying Krishna through thoughtful inquiry, but I offer a first humble attempt today. Garga Muni's hesitation to expose Krishna's identity as the son of Devaki and Vasudeva and as the Supreme Personality of Godhead is ostensibly for protection of Krishna from Kamsa. However, is the greater purpose of protecting Krishna's identity to preserve the intimacy and sweetness of Nanda and Yashoda's and greater Vraja's affection for Krishna as a vulnerable child, untainted by such awe and reverence as Vasudeva and Devaki may have experienced when Krishna first appeared to them in his four-armed form, or as Arjuna experienced when Krishna revealed his fearsome universal form in Bhagavad Gita chapter 11. Ooh, that is an interesting thought. I say, why not? Because we know that Krishna, when he does something, he's fulfilling many different things at the same time by one action. And he's such an expert arranger. Sure, I wonder, this is absolutely right. It sounds right. And I'll tell you why, because he would have grown up so differently as a child in this, in palaces and a different education. And to give him the opportunity to just enjoy the sweetness of being in Braja with all the other cowherd boys and cowherd girls and Mother Yashoda. Sure, I say why not? If anyone has any objection, but it seems like Krishna doesn't do things by accident and things don't just happen by chance. I'd say certainly that makes perfect sense, that all of these things got done at the same time. Andrea, Hare Krishna, dear friend.
Hare Krishna, dear friend. Haribo. I also wrote a couple of my things in the chat because I wasn't sure if you were going to get to them. Because throughout the whole session, I kept being like, that's a good point. That's a good point. And one of the things that I really liked is when you said about that we can't get the help or association if we don't reach out. That really resonated for me. I mean, that this is like a constant thing that we're talking about, where, like, I don't realize that I'm isolating myself or that I'm, because I have the whole conversation. Well, I don't want to bother them, like I don't want to be a bother. And it's that whole idea of like, no, like your loved ones want to be with you. They want to serve you, even if it's just listening to you going off about whatever is your difficulty, whatever's going on. Like they love you, like that's what they want to do. And then the other thing that you really said that resonated with me, that I was like, I felt like being like, amen, was Haribo, was when you said that Balaram, as an expansion of Krishna, he's never gonna be like, no, I already helped like 20 devotees today. I can't be helping you. I've run out. Like, like the tickets have been given out. That's it. It's sold out. Like that, he's never gonna do that because he's infinite in his, mercy and his love and his help for us. So I don't know why it gets me emotional, but it's just like, wow, that's how they are. That's how they are. And to know that the devotees are just like small extensions and possibilities of that is just really moving. And then my question now, it just doesn't feel as relevant, but I'll put it in because like the other stuff really touched me. But I asked, would Achinta Abheda, the inconceivable oneness and difference, also help that explain that relationship between Balaram and Krishna? So,
Yeah, because it's just inconceivable sameness and difference. So my understanding is that yes, because we can't conceive of it, and he is Balaram, but also Balaram's his own person. He's his own personality, and even when we see them together, Balaram's off doing his thing and Krishna's doing. They don't even have the same opinions. They don't even have the same opinions. So how's that for different? Yeah, Balaram is he's hanging out with Duryodhana, and Krishna's hanging out with the Pandavas. They don't even have to agree on these matters. Sure. And it's the same with all his other incarnations and expansions. They're the same and they're different. They're each their own. And it is inconceivable. And I appreciate you saying that, because I'm aware that I said, well, you know, if I didn't have the devotees, then Krishna wouldn't give me Krishna because he's too busy. But that's actually an incorrect statement. Krishna can do anything and everything all at once. And there is no such thing as, you know, it's not for you. It actually is. And that's the humbling part where we become so grateful, because actually, as small as I am, and even if I think I don't deserve it, that's not up to me. But Krishna's mercy and love, his love and just genuine friendship, it extends it's for everyone. No one's excluded. I am not that special that I'm excluded, right? Like Prabhupada said, someone said, I'm the most fallen, or you're not the most anything. I'm not, you know, that's it. Yeah, thank you. Any other comments, realizations? Reflections is what Adi Purush said. Reflections.
Yeah, we're not the most anything. That's next time we seek validation. That's a good thing to remember. You're not the most anything. Keep going. Keep serving. Okay, where is Bhima Prabhu? Is he still on the call? Bhima Prabhu, ask your question.
Haribo, the reason why I lowered my hand, by the way, wonderful class, wonderful answers. I love the conversation because certain questions are addressed and answered. The question was simply a repeat of Rich's question. I saw it in the chat and I said, this must be asked. And I was going, if it wasn't going to be taken up, I was going to just read it. But that was taken care of and it was well answered. And I love the fact that we're repeating over and over that Krishna is capable of everything and that he's always there, and either through his devotees and we or directly through Shastra, or if we are lucky enough to have darshan, intimate darshan with our guru, then he will answer our questions. But the important thing is to have faith that if we simply seek and we simply yearn for the answers to our questions and ask those questions, when we chant, Krishna will, the important thing is to listen, to be patient and to listen for the answer. So once again, Lila, wonderful class, wonderful mood. I guess the mood is due to the fact that you are in a subtropic environment there with the palm raising in the background. So that must help you relax when you give your class. So we'll let you bask in your heavenly planet there, even if it is just a background. So Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for the class.
Hare Krishna, Bhima Prabhu, my favorite Bhima. Yeah, thank you all so much. Back to Adi Purusha Prabhu's point about the joy of service. Well, I'll speak for myself, but I think this is a common thing. We try so hard by our own endeavors to get happiness, and devotional service just gives that to us. So yeah, the power of devotional service, the joyous devotional service, and it's a practice. Yeah, but nothing else compares to it. And I can try forever and spend a lot of energy and time and a lot of heartache, but I won't get it the way the devotional service gives it.
A comment about Ananda Vihar's question about asking for appreciation. It can be mundane that we're just thinking of profit, adoration, and distinction, which is referred to as subtle sex life. But actually, if we're actually trying to please Krishna and we just want to know if what I did pleased him, that kind of reciprocation, we really want to know, is this okay? Do you like it? Did you like this thing I cooked, or this thing I said, or, this thing that we're trying to do, will it please you? That's an interesting kind of appreciation that is about loving exchange. We'll go to
Jai. Hare Krishna. Hey.
Govinda